Anyone can make this cheap and easy artisan bread. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a seasoned baker. There's no kneading required, and it turns out perfectly. Welcome to the Spendwise Moms channel, your homemaking resource hub. One of the great things about this amazing artisan bread is that it doesn't cost a lot to make. All you need is flour, water, salt, yeast, and a little olive oil. Start by using a large bowl and put 3 cups of flour in it. Add about 3/8 of a teaspoon of yeast. I use a heaping 1/4 teaspoon, but you can also use a 1/2 teaspoon and fill it up part of the way. Then add 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt to this and stir. Next, add 1 1/2 cups of water and some oil. I use anywhere from 1 1/2 teaspoons to maybe 2 tablespoons of oil. I've made this recipe so many times and have gotten lazy about measuring. I just pour in some oil now. After you add the wet ingredients, stir everything together. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of dry parts. If you find you need a little bit more water, just add some. If you want to be creative, you can try adding some crushed rosemary, but I prefer this bread without spices. Next, brush some oil on a piece of plastic wrap. Then cover your bowl tightly with a plastic wrap. If I mix up this bread in the morning, I finish it in the evening. If I mix up the bread in the evening, I finish it the next morning. This is because you want the dough to rise for about 8 to 12 hours. After it's done rising, uncover the plastic wrap and sprinkle some flour on the dough and carefully toss it together. You don't want your bread dough to be too sticky, but you also don't want it to be too dry. Save the plastic wrap because you will use it in a minute. Next, get out a piece of foil and grease it on one side. I usually use a stick of butter because it's so easy to use. Also grease whatever baking pan you are using. I usually use a square pan or a pie pan to make a loaf of bread. Don't use a cookie sheet. You need something with sides that are a few inches high. If I decide to make rolls with this dough, I use a 9 by 13 pan. Put your dough in a greased pan. Cover it and let it rise for an hour or two. About 15 minutes before it's done rising, preheat your oven to 435 degrees. Take off the plastic wrap and put the greased foil on top of the pan, grease side down. Bake the bread dough in the oven for about 15 minutes. Then take off the foil and continue to bake for another 12 to 16 minutes. Take the bread out of the oven and place on a cooling rack. When the bread's cool enough, it's time to enjoy it. I love this bread and usually cut off a little slice as soon as it comes out of the oven. But if you're patient enough to wait until it cools, the bread will cut much better. Even though this bread is cheap to make, it is amazing. Thanks for watching the Spendwise Moms channel. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button for more videos like this.